Okay, hello again. I'm going to the gym for the first time in a while. I feel like I am rusty in that old gym there, so we'll see kind of what happens there. Hopefully we get a little sweat going. Alright, so what do I have for today? I have telling people how you really feel. I was watching 500 Days of Summer. It's this movie that I watched a while ago, like a couple years ago, and I recently, well, I haven't actually finished it yet, but I've recently kind of watched most of it. Anyway, there's this scene in the movie where one of the main dudes is talking about how people don't really tell others how they honestly feel, and I was thinking about that a little bit. What is that supposed to mean? I was thinking about that, and I think that's pretty true. You know, if you think about how often you tell someone how you really honestly actually feel, I think you might realize that you don't really do that very frequently. At least most people don't do that very frequently, and I'm certainly, in that category. I think a lot of times we have this filter where we have what we're honestly thinking, and then there's a whole different thing where you say what you actually say. So sometimes you're thinking something totally different, but you say, you're thinking what you're actually thinking, but you say something totally different. I think that happens all the time. It's not necessarily a blatant lie. Like for example, I wouldn't just go walking around being truthful and saying, "Oh, you're fat, you're ugly, you look stupid, I don't like your hair." Like, there's a lot of filters that I think are healthy and that are actually good to hold up and maintain, because otherwise, all of your judgment and all of your just the way your brain works, you don't have to say everything that you're thinking. But I do think that it's important sometimes to do that, because I don't think that people really ever do it. Honestly, I think that filter holds, stays, is maintained throughout all conversation, or at least most of conversations. I think that every now and then you got to tell people how you really actually feel about something. For example, I was thinking about one of my friends I've just been feeling these things with, that aren't necessarily the best feelings. They're kind of just uncomfortable, or we're both feeling the same thing. There's kind of some tension a little bit, but we're not discussing it. We both can feel the same thing, but it hasn't been talked about really. And I think next time I see that person, I think that I'm going to bring it up to him, and just say, "Hey, this is kind of how I've been feeling. I know that you're probably feeling at least similar things," and just tell him kind of what I've been feeling. Because I don't think that hiding it is necessarily beneficial. I don't think at all. Again, there are certain filters that I believe are necessary, but there's also certain filters that we shouldn't be using that aren't necessary. So I think it's just important to tell people how you really feel sometimes. Again, it doesn't mean you have to go all over the place telling people what you're thinking, because a lot of times, you don't have to say what you think all the time. So that was the first. Wow, that truck is going crazy. So that was the first thing that I said that I think is a pretty interesting topic there. So the next thing I have is, you're not going to know everything immediately. I forget why I even wrote that down. I think that it was this morning earlier, and I don't know why I wrote that down, but I think it's interesting regardless. So for me in my life, when I don't know the answer to whatever it is, or know the solution to something immediately, I feel kind of this anxiety. I feel anxious. I feel like not scared. I don't think scared is the right word, but I feel rushed, and I feel like I should know the answer, and I get I'm hard on myself, And so when I don't know the answer to something immediately, my brain, I think, kind of freaks out and doesn't do quite the right thing. I think that what I'd rather do is, when I don't know the answer and I'm entering into a situation where I'm unclear on what to do, is just what I'd prefer to do is just to slow down, and kind of gradually work my way through it and understand that, you know what, yeah, no, I don't have the answer right now, but I'll get there eventually. I think I just kind of get caught up in wishing that I knew how to do things now and wishing that I had this certain level of certainty, but that's not always the case, and very rarely that's the case even, I think. I think that if you're always certain about what you're doing, then maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe you're not growing enough. If you know every piece of your life and how to do every portion of whatever you're doing during the day, and there's no question, there's no room for, okay, how do I solve this? What do I do here? Then it probably means you're not doing that much. It probably means that you're a little bit too comfortable. And so I do think that it's important to, I guess, train your brain to get more comfortable not knowing certain things. We're not supposed to know everything in the world. We're not obligated to know everything. I think not a lot, but some people feel like, and I don't think that I don't know. It's kind of a tricky thing, but I know that there's some people who try to be know-it-alls, right? They try to make themselves feel like, or make others around them feel like they just know everything. I don't think that's healthy, because no one knows everything. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, people don't know hardly anything. We know so, it's this whole dichotomy thing, but we know so little about so much. Of course, we know a lot about other things, but I think in a lot of ways, humans just are pretty ignorant. We don't really know very much. We're just kind of these big dumb chimps. Like we're not. You know what I'm saying? So I think that allowing yourself to not know things is healthy, because you're putting yourself in a more vulnerable state and saying, you know what, I don't know the answer. Let me learn, or teach me, or let me figure this out. Let me spend some time on this and work through it, and gradually, work through the process. I know that for me, certainly, I just feel so rushed, and I just feel anxious when I don't know the answer. I just wish that I knew the answer, and I'm like, oh, come on, I'm just too hard on myself. So I don't know how common of a thing that is. I think that might have been something that was passed down to me from my dad, maybe. I'm not totally sure where that came from. But I know for me in my life, I just need to work on accepting the fact that I'm not going to know everything, and I shouldn't know everything. It's not possible to know everything. And there's no obligation, really. It's just kind of part of the process and part of the journey, So I guess that's kind of all that I have to say about that. Pretty sure that's all that I wrote. You're not going to know everything immediately. So anyway, okay, I guess that's my little video. Running some errands right now. I'm gonna knock a few things out before I go to my other job, and hopefully we'll go, make some progress on some stuff. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Roger out. See you tomorrow.